What would you do if you found out that your sleep paralysis hallucinations were really not hallucinations? Burn this bitch to the ground. That's what I would do. This story is crazy and it's a little bit long, so you might want to get comfortable, but not too comfortable so that you don't go to sleep and then accidentally go into sleep paralysis and then hallucinate shit that may not be hallucinations. Oh my god. Me dramatic? Never. So the guy telling us the story is 18 years old and he remembers at age 4, him and his dad moved into their grandmother's home. He remembers this house being very haunted from the minute they walked in there until now. He says that you would think with time things would be less terrifying, but on the contrary, things have gotten worse. He explains that the grandmother owns the home and it's always just been them two because his dad works really long hours and basically just comes home to go to sleep. He remembers at a very young age going up to his grandmother and his dad telling them that weird things are going on in the house, and they would tell him it was just his imagination. However, he was like, it was definitely not my imagination. He would hear people walking on the roof, doors would close by themselves, he could hear people running behind him when there's no one there. He would even see plates fly by themselves and like break on the ground. Shadow people running down the hallway, or if his door was open, they would run by the door and he would be freaked out. However, none of that was even the worst thing that he would experience. The worst thing he would experience is whenever he would try to go to sleep. Anytime he tried to go to bed and go to sleep, a lady would appear in his bedroom. The lady would only appear every time he would have sleep paralysis episodes. She would always appear in like the corners of his bedroom and he could see where she was just observing him from the dark. Sometimes she would even laugh at him and he could tell that her teeth were like yellow and dirty and just gross. Other times he said that she would just start insulting him and cursing at him, and it was just, my eye twitched really fucking weird. But anyway, she would insult him, and he remembers how she used to always have this like top hat that would cover her eyes. He said that when this would happen, he felt like she was covering her eyes, almost like she didn't want him to see her eyes. For the longest time, he thought that these were just sleep paralysis hallucinations, except for something that happened a few months ago that made him change his mind. So it was one day where he had left school a little later than usual, and that was because he stayed talking to one of his friends outside of school. He said that nothing happened out of the norm. He just got home a little bit later, and when he opened the door, he clearly heard somebody going up the stairs. Obviously, he thought nothing about it because he thought it was his grandmother. He put his backpack down on the couch and then he went to the kitchen for a glass of water. As he's in the kitchen getting the water, he gets a text message, and it's from his grandmother telling him not to wait up, to make himself some food, and that she would be home later on because she was with one of his aunts. It was in that moment where he said he got full body chills and he was like, who was going up the steps? I know it's not my grandmother. My dad is at work. He thought to himself, maybe somebody came in the house and was trying to rob them. He says that he knows it's stupid now, but he immediately goes up the steps to see if anything is missing from the house, and when he goes up there, everything seems to be in its place, except for everything was just a little bit too silent. The kind of silence that everything feels wrong. He said he felt as if something was observing him, but he tried to ignore it. He said in that moment he started to feel really tired, so he was gonna go to his bed and get some rest. You could not pay me to go into my room and get some rest after I heard somebody going up the stairs, felt like I was being watched. I would be outside waiting for my grandmother or dad to come home. I would feel safer outside. What the fuck? So he's tired. He's gonna start walking towards his room, and as he opens that bedroom door is when he sees that lady inside of his bedroom. The same lady he would see in his sleep paralysis hallucinations, that lady was in his bedroom. He says that the second he saw her, his body froze, like he could not move, and her smile was the same as he had always remembered in those sleep paralysis episodes. This bitch was smiling, looking at his bed. It was also in that moment where she turned to look at him with that smile on her face. I would die of a heart attack. He said that he felt like something was stuck in his throat the second she just like turned and he saw that smile. All of a sudden, she opened her mouth. He said that it was super unnatural, and the more she opened her mouth, the more it felt like her jaw was just about to break out of her fucking face. He didn't say fucking, I added that in there. He said that he tried to scream, but he couldn't, but he could still feel his tears rolling down his face. He was literally paralyzed with fear, and that was the moment where he heard her talking, or at least he thinks it's her because obviously her jaw was wide open, but he heard something that she said. She said, it's still not your turn. In Spanish, she said, aún no te toca. He says that his body finally reacted and he literally ran out of there, flew down the steps to the point where he fell by the time he got to the ground and left that house. He ran all the way to one of his friend's house that lived nearby. He was desperate to get into his friend's house, and he remembers just like knocking on the door, ringing that doorbell, and his friend's mom opens the door. He says that the mom looks at him and didn't even question him, just like told him bedroom to get inside. She knew something was wrong. When he was finally able to calm down and relax a little bit, he finally told his friend and the friend's mom everything that happened back home. A few hours later, his dad and grandmother showed up to that friend's house to pick him up. He admits that he didn't tell the complete story to his dad or grandmother, but that the dad noticed that something wasn't right. When they get to the grandmother's house and they got out of that car, all three of them saw when something was peeking out of the window from the grandmother's bedroom. Obviously, when they saw that, the dad was like, you guys stay out here. I'm gonna go inside and see if somebody's in there, someone's trying to rob us, or see what's going on. He looked at every bedroom, every corner, every closet, and there was nobody inside of that house. And when he finally let the grandmother and his son into that house, they all saw how everything in that house was destroyed. Dressers and bookshelves and cups and plates and tables, everything turned upside down. Obviously, that night he was terrified. He couldn't go to sleep and he couldn't even stay in his own bedroom. He ended up going with his dad in the dad's bedroom and he still couldn't fall asleep, but at least he felt a little bit safer with his dad there. And obviously, since that day, he has been scared of sleeping in his bedroom. The only times that he has successfully slept in his room has been when he has either left his lamp on or the bedroom light on. The weirdest thing is that ever since this event happened, he has hardly ever had any sleep paralysis episodes. But he's still terrified that one day he's gonna see that smiling lady again. And terrified because he's come to the realization that this is not a sleep paralysis episode and that this lady can literally come at any moment, not just when he's asleep.